This is something that has been on my mind for quite a long period of time, so I feel compelled to be the one to say something since no one else wants to take the initiative and do it. Gorillas are not a real animal, or at the very least the nature of them is being exaggerated. Let's take a look at some historical accounts, shall we? Oh, well, this should be a pretty quick section because there's not a whole lot of historical accounts of these in the first place. Curious. There was allegedly one back in like 500 BC by some Greek guy or something, but I'm just not going to talk about that because it's probably a fabrication. And I'm calling it a fabrication because it's convenient that there happens to be one ancient account, and then about 2,000 years later there was finally another one. Andrew Battelle, I don't know if I'm saying that right, in 1625 had an account describing an animal similar to a gorilla. But here's the problem. He said, "He goeth always upon his legs, and carrieth his hands clasped on the nape of his neck." Does that sound like a gorilla to you? Definitely not. His hands up on his neck and he's always walking upright? I don't know any gorillas like that. There are plenty more of historical accounts across all kinds of cultures across the world talking about these large, hairy, man-like beings, but they always describe them as being upright and walking upright. Again, that just does not reflect what gorillas do. But anyways, allow me to segue into an incredibly short point I'm going to make here. Such a well-studied animal that apparently numbers in the hundreds of thousands, or did at some point in time, I mean, for all we know, it could have been millions, I'm just assuming that much, has an incredibly limited fossil record. All it consists of is a few teeth, I'm pretty sure, maybe like part of a jawbone, and that's it. You're telling me that all they could find of a gorilla is a jawbone and some teeth? Are you kidding me? After all this time? Nobody cares? Now I'm going to get a little bit conspiracy theory minded because I believe that Freemasons may be involved in this. The man that is credited with discovering these fossils is Thomas S. Savage. He comes from a wealthy family and he went to Yale, which is located in New Haven, Connecticut. I reckon it's not an unreasonable assumption to assume that he spent most of his life in that area. Now, from what I could tell, some of the oldest major Mason lodges in the Connecticut area are close to the area that he grew up in, as well as New England as a whole. And if the information cited on Wikipedia is to be believed, Jeffries Wyman is also credited with this discovery. He grew up in Boston area, which is just Freemason Central. Both of these gentlemen's lives and work took place in the 1800s, which was a huge century for Freemasons. Of course, everything I'm saying could just be nonsense and conspiracy theory minded, as I said previously. After all, there's no evidence to substantiate that these people were Freemasons or in any way involved with them. I just happen to think that it's a possibility. That's not the point of this video. I'm not here to make unsubstantiated claims, unlike certain individuals. Now, with that out of the way, I just want to make it clear that for the rest of the video, some of the arguments being made will be my own, but they are also ones that I've seen online. I believe there's a very high likelihood of most gorillas that we see today just being people in fursuits. Now, I know some skeptics are going to come out and be like, well, how could they possibly be fursuits? Look at how weird their body proportions are be. There's no way you could fake that. And to that I say, really? Really? I mean, less than a century ago, you always see people talking about, oh, all these circus goers wearing stilts and having these fake limbs. In fact, if you Google it, there's this thing called the castle hand, which is basically the first mechanical prosthetic hand, and it was from the 16th century. I really want you to let that point sink in. People had working mechanical prosthetic hands 500 years ago. And you expect me to believe that not a single person could think of a way to just make it longer and then put really large, conveniently bulky arms to hide all the awkward movements inside the suit? Another big thing I want you to pay attention to is how slowly that these so-called animals move almost all the time. And then whenever they do something interesting, it's always really fast and it's a short burst. Or at least as fast as you can expect something that bulky and round to move anyway. This is because the person inside the suit is just really physically and psychologically taxed trying to emulate these weird movements. Obviously, he's not going to be able to just go pedal to the metal all day. And to further add credence to this fursuit argument, look at older pictures and videos of gorillas and even chimpanzees. They look awfully funny. They look like poorly made suits, even. But most modern-day pictures and videos of gorillas, they're studio production quality, and they look so real and lifelike. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they care about having these high-quality pictures of them all the time? It's because it's an art project and they're proud of their creation. Well, of course they're not in fursuits. They're flesh and blood just like us. People in the past centuries took a lot of interest in clay modeling and sculptures, and that's for a reason. The bones that you see at museum exhibits are fake because, like I said at the beginning of the video, there is barely a fossil record of them. They are fake clay bones, modeled after the human skeleton but slightly distorted. And notice how everything in a museum, again, is a big old art project. Everything needs to be overlaid in a specific way, and they need to set a scene and tell an intriguing story. If these gorillas were real and had flesh and blood and bones like the rest of us, why can't you find a picture of a gorilla x-ray anywhere? No, seriously, go ahead, look it up. I implore you to find one. This is something that I checked up on regularly for quite a few years now, and only recently have I been able to see pictures of an alleged gorilla x-ray, and it's only of a skull. As far as I'm concerned, that's just graphic design and computer generated. Oh, but wait, if you search around, you'll see pictures of chimp and orangutan x-rays, except they're fetuses. And the reason that they're fetuses is because it's much easier to just take a human baby picture of the x-ray and slightly distort it. And that's it. No x-ray proof of these things that are apparently so biologically similar to us, and we're studying them like crazy. And as ridiculous as this next point is going to sound, I'm still going to say it because it needs to be made. Human beings have had no trouble enslaving other animals, and especially even human beings, to get their work done. You can get a massive, powerful oxen to plow your fields, but you can't convince a gorilla to do any sort of work for you. Nobody anywhere has any history of using gorillas for slave labor. Do you really believe this? Oh, but they're intelligent and they're sentient, and maybe they don't want to work. Yeah, so were Africans during the transatlantic slave trade, and yet that still happened. Regardless of illness or lack of logistics and food supply, it still happened. But I suppose these gorillas are a protected class, and they're the ones ruling over us, and that's why we've never enslaved them. Now, if somehow by this point in the video I have not already wrestled a lot of people's jimmies, the remainder of this video is definitely going to do it, because for some reason, these points make people mad. Suppose that gorillas are a real animal. Well, they're certainly not strong, and especially not super strong like most people like to say. I could go on the internet and see millions of people writing these crazy stories on the internet, or maybe telling them verbally. I saw a gorilla do this. I saw one rip a boulder out of the ground and throw it to space. My wife's sister's cousin's friend works at a zoo, and she watched a gorilla rip a root out of the ground and throw it at the glass so hard it shattered. And yet, you know what I have not seen? A video showcasing any of this alleged super strength. Now, calm down. Quit getting red and flustered and sweaty and saying, yes, there is videos, I've seen them. I was under the impression there was only one video of a gorilla breaking glass at a zoo, but apparently there's two now. The new one I will address, you don't see it actually break the glass. I mean, for all I know, it's fake. I'm going to go ahead and say it and be that skeptic. I don't care. And the first video is a little bit older, but you can see that the people recording are not remotely scared of the situation, even though it's so dangerous. And frankly, for all I know, the glass is just not built to sustain a large blunt pressure from some heavy person just cannonballing into it. And before you go, that's really durable glass built specifically for these situations, and that can't be faked because it would mean it's a large, heavy animal. How come there's only ever two videos of this happening? There's no people with cameras recording at zoos? There's no cameras within the zoos monitoring what's going on? I mean, seriously? You can see security footage released from any place regarding a scene of a crime, even before it's actually gone to court. But you can't see this camera footage from a zoo because it's confidential for some reason. But anyways, I'm going to go talk about a different video of gorilla feats of strength. They can break coconuts with their bare hands. They're so powerful. A 400-plus pound male animal is pressing its weight on a tiny coconut and smashing it. I have seen a video of a skinny African-American man, with a single finger, mind you, smashing straight through a coconut with said finger. And there are plenty of videos on the internet of people doing similar things, if not the exact same thing or more impressive. With a finger, one finger, tiny little dudes. And I forgot to mention that outside of this impressive feat of strength, these people aren't really anybody. They're nobodies. You never hear about them outside of this. Oh, there's a video of a gorilla lifting a massive log. Well, from the position that he lifted it, he has good leverage, first off. And second off, the log could easily just be hollow or dry or made out of a weaker wood. It doesn't really matter. It's not that heavy. I've seen much smaller dudes pick up legitimately heavy logs in a similar fashion. Now, have you ever heard of the Captains of Crush grippers made by Iron Mind? At some point in time, they released a picture of a gorilla hand, which looks fake, like a suit, mind you, but that's neither here nor there, and it is holding one of their Captains of Crush grippers. Regardless of whether or not the gorilla pictured is real, I do have one question. Why has nobody tested a gorilla's alleged super grip strength with one of these grippers? These things have a lot of tension. If anyone has ever squeezed one of these things, you know that you need some serious power for the heavier ones. I can assure you that it's probably not going to break in a gorilla's hand, even if it was super strong. And suppose it did break. Well, whoop-de-doo. You just proved to the entire world how powerful these things are, and all it costed you was like, what, 20, 30 bucks? And yet, to this day, not a single person has a video of a gorilla squeezing a hand dynamometer or one of these really heavy metal tension grippers. It's really strange, isn't it? I mean, that's a multiple million view video, and you'd go down in internet history if you went and made a video like that, and yet not a single person has done it. And I doubt I'm the first person on the planet to have thought of this idea. Now, I'm going to segue into a personal experience of mine. If you want to discount it, that's fine. I mean, I discounted all your precious little gorilla stories, so that's okay. Around a year ago, I made a phone call to a zoo that was local to the area that I was staying in, and I asked if there was any possibility of me interacting with the gorillas. Even indirectly interacting them would be okay. And all I was met with was excuses about sanitation concerns. Okay, that's fine. I addressed that I can work around any sanitation requirements they may have. And then I was given the follow-up reason of, we can't introduce foreign objects to them for safety reasons. Now, mind you, if this entire interaction went really professionally, or the person on the other side of the line just started getting frustrated or angry with me for saying something so stupid, I would understand that. But instead, the woman on the other side of the line just had this shaky voice, like, oh, it's like she was unexpected, that some rando just somehow figured out that these great apes and all their associated lore are a giant farce, and she didn't know what to do. She sounded panicked, she sounded scared, like she's gonna cry. Regardless, it goes without saying that I never got to test whether or not that I'd be able to interact with the gorilla and give him a Captain's of Crush Grippers. I still have the number 4 sitting in the box unopened. I really paid attention to the scared and shaky voice response because it reminds me of the anecdotal story of Mike Tyson offering his zookeeper $1 million or whatever to fight a gorilla. Naturally, the zookeeper he was talking to got terrified, and he got so scared, like it's the craziest thing, like it's his life on the line. We live in a nation governed by money, and this man was deathly afraid of a guy giving him $1 million to fight an animal. That's all the points that I have to make throughout this video. I'm sorry it took as long as it did. I certainly was not expecting this. All I ask is that people don't start coming to me crying about these sensationalist stories they read on the internet. They never saw them, mind you. They just read them online on some little news article. Or more of these stories like, oh, my dog's great-grand-uncle's owner worked at a zoo, or I saw a video, or I saw in person. Oh, no, you didn't see anything, because if you did, you would have some sort of evidence to corroborate it. But somehow in the digital age, nobody has proof of gorillas. It's like I'm talking about Bigfoot or something. If I wanted to see crappy creative writing stories, I would have just went on DeviantArt and read those. And funny enough that I should mention Bigfoot, I will perpetuate the idea that Bigfoot exists, as long as people keep perpetuating this idea that gorillas are real and they're super strong, because it's just nonsense. If you made it to the end of this video and you still believe in the adult version of the Tooth Fairy, please seek the help that you so desperately need. Or don't, I don't really care and I'm not in charge of you. Last thing I've got to say is that if by some miracle I'm totally wrong about all of this, all I ask is for the tiny, insurmountable miracle of somebody providing video evidence of the existence or even the super strength of gorillas. Thanks for watching. Now go have fun and don't lose your head.